Finishing a crochet project is always satisfying, but sometimes it can feel like something's missing, and that something is often a border. The right border can completely transform your project, whether it's a blanket, a scarf, or even a tapestry for your wall. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do the crab stitch border. Before adding any of the decorative borders to my swatches, I like to start with a base round of single crochet. You can see I've already done that with these swatches here. And the reason we want to do that is to neaten up the edges and give us a clean, even foundation to work the border into. Most of the time, I like to use the same color as the swatch for this round so it blends in. And then we can switch to a contrasting color for the main border. But that part is totally up to you. You can get creative with it depending on the look that you're going for. So let's just really quickly look at how we're going to do this single crochet border. So to start your single crochet border, make sure that the right side of your swatch is facing you. If you've just finished your last row and the yarn is still attached, you can use that. Just chain one to begin a new round. And if you're on the wrong side currently, make sure you turn your work so that the right side is facing you. But if you're like me and you don't have yarn attached, we're just going to join it in the top right hand corner up here. So to do that, I'm going to start with a slip knot on my hook. And then insert your hook into the very first stitch in the top right hand corner and complete a single crochet. And then we're going to work all the way across the top of here, just placing one single crochet into each stitch. Now, of course, if your swatch is done with a different stitch, so say, for example, maybe it's moss stitch and you've got a chain space every other stitch, you'd also work into each of those chain spaces as well. You just want to work nice and evenly across the top until you get to the very last stitch. And when we get to the end of the row, we need to turn this corner. And to do that, we need to put 3 single crochets into this very last stitch. So we'll do 1, 2, and then 3. And that has allowed us to turn that corner and continue working down the edge of our work here. Now with my swatch, I was working mostly in single crochet. And that means that when I'm working down here, I can just put 1 stitch into the end of each row, and that's going to be nice and even. But if you're working with a different stitch, a taller stitch, for example, like double crochet, you might need to put more than 1 stitch per row. So if we take a look at one of my other swatches, this one, for example, has some double crochet stitches, and I had to put 2 single crochets into some of the rows. But the important thing here is not necessarily the number of stitches per row, it's that your work is nice and even. You want to check that as you're working, it's not puckering up or becoming wavy, that it is lying nice and flat like this. But as I said, if you've got a swatch like mine, which is mostly worked in a single crochet, it's nice and easy. We can just put 1 single crochet in the end of each row. And we're going to work all the way down this side until we get to the foundation chain down here. And when we get to the end of that edge, it's time to turn the corner. But before we do that, make sure you lie your piece out flat and make sure that this edge is staying nice and flat like that and that it isn't puckering up. If it is, don't worry, just rip out your stitches and try again, add some more stitches or fewer stitches until you get a nice even edge like this. And when you're happy, we can turn this corner. So we're just going to find the very first foundation chain here, and we're going to work 3 single crochets into there, just like we did with the previous corner. So 1, 2, and 3. And just as we did before at the top here, we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of our foundation chains until we get to this last one here. And again, we'll place 3 single crochets into the last one. Then we'll turn our work around like this and work into the edge of these rows, just like we did over here. So you can go ahead and work all the way across here, work into this corner here, and then work down this edge here. And I'll meet you at the end of this edge where I'll show you how we're going to finish things off. And when you've worked all the way around your square, it should look something like this. Now, when we started our border, we began in this corner up here. And we only put 1 single crochet in this corner, but as you know, we normally put 3 single crochets in the corner. So to finish this off, we're just going to put 2 more single crochets into that same stitch where we worked our first single crochet. So that is right there. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then we're just going to slip stitch with that first stitch there. And then we can cut our yarn and fasten off. Or if you want to do the next part of the border in the same color, you can of course keep it attached, but I'm going to be using a contrasting color. So I'm going to fasten off and weave in that end before I get started with the next step. The border we're going to do is the crab stitch, which is a nice and easy stitch. It's also known as the reverse single crochet. And as that name suggests, we're actually working in reverse. So when we attach our yarn up here, rather than working this way around the square, we're going to be working this way around the square. And this border is a nice and straightforward one. It's just one round and we're basically just working single crochets. So to get started, we're just going to pop a slip knot on our hook. And we're going to attach our yarn somewhere. It really doesn't matter where. You can start in a corner, up at the top here, wherever you want. And I'm going to insert my hook into a stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, and then pull through the loop on our hook. So our yarn is now attached and we can pop that tail in the back so it's out of the way. And as I said, this stitch is called the reverse single crochet or the crab stitch. And the reason it's called a reverse single crochet is because you're going to be doing all of the same steps as a normal single crochet. So just as we have done with this foundation single crochet border that we've already added, we're going to be doing the exact same steps, but rather than working into the next stitch along on our left, we're going to be working into the stitch on our right. So to get started, what I would do is hold on to this loop that is on your hook, because this might be a little bit fiddly and you might find that that slips off if you're not careful. And we're going to find the first stitch on the right, which is this one here, and insert into it, just like this. Just make sure we hold that tail out of the way so we're not picking that up. And then we're going to grab our working yarn and pull it through the stitch just as we do with a single crochet. So you've now got two loops on your hook and they are a little bit twisted, so don't worry about that. That's exactly how they're supposed to be. We're then going to yarn over and pull through both of those loops. And that is your first reverse single crochet done. And we're just going to continue working along the border, so finding the next single crochet along. So this one right here, and we're going to work into that. So insert our hook, grab the yarn, pull it up, yarn over and pull through two. And we're just going to continue working like this into every single stitch around. We're not going to do anything special in the corners or anything like that, just one of these stitches into each stitch that we've already done in our foundation. So as I said, this is nice and straightforward. It can feel a little bit fiddly working backwards like this. It's a little bit unusual, but once you get into the rhythm, you'll find that you really fly around this border, and this is a really quick one to add. And it looks really cool. As you can see, it really neatens up all of the edges of your project and just makes it look so tidy. And when we make it to the end of the round, we want to make sure we're working into this last stitch where we join the yarn. So not where we put our first reverse single crochet, just where we join the yarn. So we're going to pop one more stitch in there. And then we want to work a slip stitch into this first stitch that we worked into. So not the reverse single crochet, but the stitch that one is worked into down here. We're just going to work a slip stitch. So insert our hook, yarn over and pull through the stitch and through the loop on your hook, which can be a little bit fiddly. And once you've done that, you can cut the yarn and fasten off. And that is your crab stitch border all finished. So this border is really quick and easy to add to any project, and it looks really neat and tidy. It really is one of my favorite borders to add to my projects. And if you want more tutorials like this one, make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.